Yes, Madam Speaker. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, this meeting of the Barnstable County Assembly of Delegates conducted both in person and via remote means in accordance with applicable. Members of the public may watch the meeting through live real-time broadcast at www.youtube.com/user/participation guide meeting documents or www. County of Barnstable does not discriminate in the administration of its race, color, religion, national origin, disability, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or other category protected by state and anti-discrimination laws or regulations. Accommodations for or file a complaint, please contact your Jack, Barnstable County ADA Coordinator, AMA, PZAK at Cape Cod of call 508-375-6646 or
honor our troops who have died in service for all those serving our country in the Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge to allegiance. Thank you. Clerk Fletcher.
Madam Speaker. Delegate Frederickson,
Yeah, audio is not good.
right? Delegate Frizel, Delegate Fuller,
Here.
Delegate Gallagher,
Here.
Deputy Speaker Gessen,
Here.
Delegate Green,
Here.
Delegate Harder,
Here.
Delegate Killian,
Here.
Delegate King, Delegate King, Delegate O'Malley, Dean Omen,
Here.
Delegate Sampson,
Here.
Delegate Ty,
Here.
Delegate Mashpee seat. That is 11 delegates. Oh, Speaker Warner, and then
Here.
and then the Mashpee seat is vacant. And I believe that is 11 delegates representing 84.44% of the county's population.
Next on the calendar is the approval of the journals and the minutes. Dean Omen, can I get you to approve the journal for the Assembly of Delegates regular meeting of January 7th, 2026?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, John. Delegate. It's been moved in seconds. Are there any corrections? No? Clerk Fletcher, can you do the roll?
Delegate Frederickson? All right, that was a yes.
Yes.
Delegate Frizel, Delegate Fuller,
Yes.
Delegate Gallagher.
Yes.
Deputy Speaker Gessen,
Yes.
Delegate Green.
Yes.
Delegate Harder,
Abstain.
Delegate Killian,
Yes.
Delegate King, Delegate O'Malley, Dean Omen,
Yes.
Delegate Sampson,
Yes.
Delegate Ty,
Yes.
Speaker Warner,
Yes.
and again, the Mashpee seat is vacant. That is 10 delegates representing 78.57% of the county's population.
So moved, Madam Speaker.
Second.
Conversation? Discussion? Okay. Clerk Fletcher, can you?
Yes, Madam Speaker. Delegate Frederickson,
Yes.
Delegate Frizel, Delegate Fuller,
Yes.
Delegate Gallagher,
Yes.
Deputy Speaker Gasson,
Yes.
Delegate Green,
Yes.
Delegate Harder.
Yes.
Delegate Killian,
Yes.
Delegate King, Delegate O'Malley, Dean Omen,
Yes.
Delegate Sampson,
Yes.
Delegate Ty,
Yes.
Speaker Warner.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, that is 11 delegates representing 84.44% of the county's population.
Next on the calendar is the Committee of the Whole. Dean Omen, can I get a motion to enter Committee of the Whole to consider communications since item 9
moved,
and
Madam
10?
So moved, Madam Speaker.
Second.
Thank you. Clerk Fletcher, would you please do the roll?
Delegate Frederickson,
Yes.
Delegate Frizel, Delegate Fuller,
Yes.
Delegate Gallagher.
Yes.
Deputy Speaker Gasson,
Yes.
Delegate Green,
Yes.
Delegate Harder.
Yes.
Delegate Killian,
Yes.
Delegate King, Delegate O'Malley, Dean Omen,
Yes.
Delegate Sampson,
Yes.
Delegate Ty,
Yes.
Speaker Warner,
Yes.
and again, the Mashpee seat is vacant. That's still 11 delegates representing 84.44% of the county's population.
Next on the calendar is communications from members of the public and officials. So would Vera go first? Because this is the public hearing.
Public hearings.
Okay. At this time, we'll do the public hearing on the proposed home rule petition 2026-01 to the Massachusetts Legislative authorizing the establishment of a regional high-value real estate transfer fee. The public hearing is now open. Just to give you a few guidelines, excuse me. Each person will have approximately 3 minutes to speak. The people will be called in the order in which they were they signed up, and see anything else. This is a time to basically just tell us what you're thinking, and we are not doing any back and forth. We're simply period is a time to debate. It's not a time to debate or discuss it. It's amongst assembly members. And if there is something that comes up that we've not already addressed or adopted within the context itself, then that would be brought up at another assembly meeting and would be added on a future agenda. We have someone who will keep track of the time, and when it's 2 minutes in, they will just hold up a sign. For those of you who are online who wish to speak, she will indicate that it's 2 minutes verbally so that you understand that you're almost done with your, and at the time it's over, that's it. And the next speaker comes up, and please be sure to identify yourself and the town from which you reside. Anything else you want to? Okay. The hearing is open. And what's the gentleman's first name?
Can you hear me okay? My name is Eric Schwab. I live in Hyannis. I'm a housing commissioner for the Barnstable Housing Authority. I'm here today in a private capacity. I was here, I believe, in September when you first started these discussions about the luxury tax. And back then, the threshold was $2 million. And we joked on the way out the door that you watch, it'll be down to $1 million in no time. And sure enough, in the draft legislation that we saw distributed earlier in the week, you're down to $1 million. And that concerns quite a few of us because $1 million house is really no longer considered a luxury in Barnstable. Housing costs have gone up considerably. So we would like to know how you decided to lower the threshold to $1 million. Second of all, there's considerable concern about what the impact of this luxury tax would be on the town in general. And we sincerely hope that before you go to the state legislature, that you intend to come to our town council and get authorization to proceed. We think that it might be considered unreasonable for you as delegates to decide for us how we're taxed. And we would prefer that you go to the Barnstable Town Council and present your thinking before you go to the state. As a request, I don't know if you're obligated to do that or not, but it seems to us that the town should have some say in what you're planning before it goes to the legislature. Beyond that, we really don't understand where this is coming from. We respect the county, we respect, your organization, but no one really ever gave you, that I'm aware of, the authorization to tax us indiscriminately. So it'd be helpful if someone at some point could explain to us where this proposal came from and why. On a final note, you distributed $3.5 million to the Housing Assistance Corp. I believe it was last year from ARPA funds. 2 minutes, good, I'll go quickly. This has caused quite a stir. The Hyannis Civic Association is sending around correspondence. I would like to forward that correspondence to you so you're aware of it. And I would like to request any and all documentation about who suggested giving $3.5 million to a shelter in Hyannis, because we're full. We can't take on any more of your responsibilities. It's your responsibility. Each town here has a responsibility of taking care of their own homeless. Thank you.
John,
Julius.
what?
John Julius.
John Julius. John Julius, please.
Madam Speaker, just a point of information. Sorry to interrupt.
Would you please give your name and the,
Absolutely. Well, was there a call for a point of information from someone?
Yeah, Madam,
oh, I did. Who?
Yes.
Oh, Geffen, okay. Delegate Geffen.
I just wanted to clarify one of the aspects of the public hearing here. Just because it is on the agenda, is it okay for delegates that have questions for people that are testifying to ask questions if recognized by the speaker, or is it not today? I don't have any questions right now. I'm just making sure.
No, it is not at this particular hearing.
Okay, thank you.
Are we ready?
I hope so.
Great. Good afternoon, friends, and you are my friends, our friends. John Julius, I spoke the last time. I'm a kind of realtor, mostly retired now, but still selling. Couple of things you should be aware of. Yeah, Eric mentioned the 2 million, now it's 1 million, and where are we going next week? 750, 500,000. Let's stop with this taxing nonsense, because that's what it is. Last year, you take $1 million sales. I think there were last December, in Barnstable County, there were 71 sales. The median price at that time on the Cape was $774,000. This December, the median price is $797,500. So it went up. But guess what? The number of sales last year were 103. This year, the 71. They're going to go down. The higher the price goes, the more it goes down. $1 million home no longer is a luxury home anymore. Okay, it's just not. It's a mom and pop. People are going to need that money to go into nursing homes, maybe to give to their kids to survive today with the utilities and everything else. This is nonsense. 2 minutes. Wow, 2 minutes whizzed by. You know where and I I contest the 2 minutes. I don't think 2 minutes went by. Nevertheless, these delegates, you should be focusing on water and sewer. You know, in 2021, Gary Lopez and I, we did actually file a lawsuit in federal court regarding the water and the sewer, which is where your focus should be, not extracting money from taxpayers and homeowners and business owners. Focus on the water and the sewer. I'm going to get a copy of this to you because Gary Lopez and I in 2021, we filed this in federal court. Conservation Law Foundation subsequently copied our lawsuit, which is fine with me. I'm glad someone did. So the CLF has a monster lawsuit right now against the town of Barnstable with the contamination. That's where your focus should be, not on taking money from taxpayers. And I will get you a copy of this. If you haven't seen the lawsuit from CLF, I highly urge you to go and look at that. And again, they copied ours. I'm going to send you ours with Gary Lopez and I. We filed this with the Barnstable tax clerk in March of 2021. Please take your focus to somewhere else other than extracting money from hardworking home and business owners. Thank you. I wish I could tone it down, but you know what? My blood's boiling. And I'll tell you what, blood's boiling from a lot of other taxpayers in the town, not just the town of Barnstable, but all over the Cape. We don't need this. Put your focus where it really should be. Focus on the water. Focus on the contamination going out to Lewis Bay. Focusing on Barnstable, where we have a sewer treatment plant that was built the same year as the two bridges, 1935. What do you think that's going to cost someone who owns a house that's worth $1 million and they want to stay in their house? Thank you.
Point of order, the last person who spoke, you didn't state, John, are you from Barnstable? Is that correct?
I am.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I have two John Julius's, no? Okay.
She's first.
Oh, Deborah.
Sandy Jones, the very first one.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Again, would you state your name and tell us where you're from, please?
Sure, Sandra Jones, and I live in Centerville.
Okay, thank you.
So I just want to speak to you. I only found out about this luxury real estate fee tax recently. And I moved to the Cape 26 years ago. And when I moved here, I was in my 30s, and I was fortunate that I had sold a house and I was able to purchase a home here. But prior to that, I came from a town with 1,800 population, and I lived in the city of Lowell for 10 years because that's what I could afford. I worked full time, I attended college at night, and I worked 3 nights as a bartender in order to afford to move to Cape Cod. And that's what I did. I do believe that we have a housing situation, but I also believe the root of it comes to short-term rentals. I live right behind Main Street in Centerville. I have 4 homes that were purchased that are Airbnbs. I believe they took these single-family homes out of the inventory for families to buy. So this luxury tax, I don't think it's fair. I believe that we also have a buyer situation. I worked as a mortgage underwriter. I do not see the first-time home buyers taking advantage of 2%, 3%, 5% down on FHA loans. I used to process applications. The very first fee the very first item I would see on a credit report would be a $500 car payment. And this was in the 90s. So I believe that we do have a housing situation, but I believe we have a buyer situation. And I don't believe everybody could live on Cape Cod. And I know that I'm going to get beat up for that, but I just don't believe that for a younger generation. I think people have to leave the Cape and then come back, like all of us. Secondly, I think the threshold is going to hurt the average home sale. And I definitely believe it's going to hurt the commercial real estate transactions. We have businesses leaving Massachusetts due to utility costs, mandates, electric vehicles. There are so many reasons why, but they can no longer afford to operate. And adding this to a commercial sales real estate transaction will only discourage businesses from coming here. And I do believe that the residents right now are struggling with property taxes, with utilities, with medications, with insurance and whatnot as the seniors age out. So I believe if you have to enforce this, or if you agree to this, the number should be higher, 2 million, 2.5 million, because the $1 million homes are not for wealthy individuals. That, again, as the person before me said, the homes are selling for $800,000-900,000. And lastly, I do agree with the infrastructure that John Julius mentioned. Right now, we have an outflow pipe in Falmouth because the wastewater cannot handle it. We cannot handle the sewer capacity, and Barnstable is almost bankrupt because we only have 160 homes on sewer right now connected. We cannot afford to continue to pay for this project, and it's just bankrupts in the town. So I believe that we should have some kind of fund to support infrastructure. Thank you.
Before we go to the people with their hands up in the lobby, I'd like to acknowledge Board Selectman Sironian and see if he had anything he would like to say. Does she? Oh, where? Oh, where is she? Okay. How about the Chatham Select Board member Davis? Okay.
Thank you for, hi, I'm here. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm in the middle of a couple of things. I just want to say that I totally agree with the first speaker in respect to the taxation representation piece, but also that we have no idea where this is coming from. One of the issues that Chatham had brought up when we had heard about this was that we had we have high property values here in Chatham, and we'd like to be able to take and maybe do our own, which we're trying to do our own luxury tax program here. And we'd like to be able to keep our money here to work on our community and what we see as important. We feel that some of the comments that had come up in our conversations have been about the idea that if this is a county program, it's a layer of bureaucracy that might not be necessary. It takes away from the uniqueness of towns' projects and their goals and objectives. And we feel that that we would lose some of the money to an administration fee, and also projects may be weighted by population, and we would be actually funding projects that weren't even going to benefit our community. So I'm really, again, very concerned about where this is coming from and why. And we look forward to the assembly coming to the town of Chatham and to give us the chance to be able to address this to your committee in person. Thank you.
Let's go ahead to the Board Select Board person. Hi.
Thank you,
Go ahead.
Anne Marie Saronian. Thank you. I think we are, last night, I'd just like to say that we had our select board meeting last night and a store commissioners meeting, and the select board voted 5-0-0 unanimously to not support this petition for several reasons. Some of them already being addressed with the earlier. We have concerns for our community that we just don't have the stock or the inventory that would warrant this type of luxury real estate tax. But we also struggled with the principle behind it. We don't feel as though putting a roof over your family's head, regardless of how much you choose to pay for that home, is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And, for some people, a home is their only asset, and they deserve to get as much as they can out of that asset down the road when when they do have to sell, or for a buyer to invest in such an asset. They deserve, to invest as much as they can with the money, hard-earned money that they have worked towards attaining this asset. We struggle with the 90-10%. The county already takes over a 6% transfer, real estate transfer tax, transfer fee, and don't feel as though that's fair and equitable. For Bourne, we've had so many initiatives. We're an MBTA community. We've changed our zoning. We're increasing our density. Have other initiatives working towards the housing crisis. And I just don't think that a buyer or seller of a home should bear the burden of trying to fix the housing crisis that we have. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. There are two names up.
Andrew Gottlieb.
What?
Andrew Gottlieb.
Let's go to Andrew Gottlieb first.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. My name is Andrew Gottlieb. I'm the Executive Director of the Association to Preserve Cape Cod. 14% of Cape Cod is both undeveloped and unprotected. And what happens with that remaining land will say a lot about what happens to the future of the Cape. We believe that the existing development patterns of Cape Cod have resulted in fragmented landscape, bad traffic, poor water quality, very high housing prices, and have distorted the economics of the Cape. This proposal, whether you support theoretically or philosophically a luxury tax or not, has the potential, without the addition of some limitations on the applicability of where the funding collected from this tax can be spent, of actually exacerbating and making some of the existing problems we have worse, not better. It is our belief as an organization that there needs to be included in this petition, if it moves forward from the start, and this is something we've repeated numerous times to numerous members of the body, that limits the housing that can be developed using these funds to the areas that we've identified and work we've done in partnership with Housing Assistance Corporation to previously disturbed areas, underdeveloped areas, and areas in town centers, all of which need to be serviced by wastewater infrastructure. That without those boundaries and without those guardrails, developing and intensifying the use of undeveloped land, that 80% of which is priority land as determined by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, threatens to kill the goose that laid the golden egg. So in order for us to reconsider our position on this piece of legislation, we would need to see and would ask the body to include in anything that goes to the general court for deliberation a limitation on where the funding can be spent to focus on those areas that we've identified in numerous situations as being most appropriate for development, and to not foster additional and intense development of priority lands that need to be protected if we're going to make progress on water quality, protect our drinking water, and have a resource that will continue to serve as the engine for economic development, prosperity for Cape Cod businesses, homeowners, current and future generations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I'm not sure who the next hand up is, but it's who is it? Adam Hoke?
Oh,
Okay, Adam Hoke is next. Adam Hoke? Holmes?
Olga.
There's no. Okay. One more call. Adam Holmes? Okay. Is there anyone else who had something they would like to say at this point? If you would come to the microphone, please. Excuse me, identify
Hello,
yourself.
this is Adam Hogue. My microphone was off, sorry. Hello? Can I speak? Hello? All right, we're good? All right.
Okay. all
My
right.
name, my name's Adam Hogue from Barnstable. I oppose increasing this transfer tax as a solution for Barnstable County's housing crisis. We cannot simply tax away out of this problem. Increasing transaction costs on home sales will not create meaningful new housing supply, nor will it make housing more affordable for year-round residents. Instead, it risks driving up prices even further, discouraging responsible development and adding additional burden to our families that are already struggling to live and work here on Cape Cod. Housing challenges we face did not happen overnight. It took decades of limited planning, regulatory barriers, and underinvestment in infrastructure to get us here. Addressing it will require the same level of seriousness and for long-term and comprehensive strategy rather than short-term revenue measures that sound good at first, but fails to address the root causes of this problem. Barnstable County needs a clear housing vision focused on increasing supply, supporting smart and sustainable development, and modernizing zoning and permitting and coordinating with the local towns and employers and state partners. We need policies that expand opportunity, not just ones that simply shift the cost of housing onto our residents. So I urge you to not support this increase in the transfer tax because it will not solve our problem. And as we see for the local towns, it's better focused on the local issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Elizabeth Derry from Hyannis, and no one seems to know where this came from and why. And it came from a thing called United Nations 2030, which Julian Sear has referenced several times. He's going to wait for Trump to get out of office so he can basically go back and follow the mandates of UN 2030. And one of them is mass migration support. We've had our population doubled in 5 years. So now we have a housing crisis. Meanwhile, we have a septic and water gigantic crisis, and you guys are housing illegal aliens. Why? You need them to win elections. That's the big push. You can't win any more elections starting this year without those illegals with social security numbers. We have 100,000 on Cape Cod, another 200 on the mainland, Mass. I have kids. You can't get a job in landscaping or anything like that. Me, I get calls all the time, foreign people calling me, trying to buy me out. I get threatened because I'm across the street from where they want to stuff 5 apartments in 2,000 square feet. Now, if you do the quick math, that's a jail cell. That's 18 people and 9 cars on a quarter acre in a single family home neighborhood. Why? We even did a petition and we got more than half the neighborhood against it. Hyannis Town Council overruled us. Why? The owner is the father of Jen Villa, the Live Local debutante. So now I'm going to have to look at all those 18 people on a quarter acre. It's supposed to be a single family lot, and they're going ahead with it, even against our own petition. So my question to all of you Yacht Club members is, who represents who? I think you represent the 1% ruling class, epitomized by UN 2030. But that's just my opinion. Thank you, sir. And you have the best job in the world, you. You make a lot of money to be powerful.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have Anything else? No, not according to the rules. I'm sorry. Anybody else? Okay. Seeing no one else, the public hearing is now closed. Start again.
We've got two more public hearings.
Hmm?
We have two more public hearings.
Yeah. Okay. Now there's a public hearing on proposed ordinance 2026-01 for the fiscal year 2027 capital budget. The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone here from the public to speak on the proposed petition? If not, seeing no one else, the public hearing is closed. Public hearing on proposed ordinance 2026-02, appropriating the sum of $4,563,215 to the capital stabilization fund established in ordinance 2020-17 by transferring funds from the unreserved fund balance. The public hearing is open. Okay, is there anyone from the public who would like to give general public comment on this item? Okay. If there's no one from the public, then this public hearing is also closed. Next on the calendar is communications from the regional commissioners, administrator, and directors. And
We missed regular.
what? What?
This is regular.
Public-
I don't think there's anyone left.
No. They all left. And I see, I beg your pardon?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public who would like to give general public comment on any of the items that we just talked about? They all left. Okay, no. Next on the calendar again is communications from the regional commissioners, administrator, and directors. And I see that Vera Hardy is here to go ahead and speak for the administrator.
Good afternoon. My boss, Michael Dutton, is here remote to offer comments. What a shame. Yeah. So, good afternoon. I'm Vera Harik, the Assistant County Administrator. I'll summarize for you the proceedings of the meeting that our Board of Commissioners had last week. Let's see. Senator Sear and Fernandez visited the commissioners to discuss various legislative initiatives that they're a party to and that also have interest, that we have a mutual interest here in Cape Cod as a region. They were quite specific as some of the work that they're doing, and the overlap with the interests of not only the Board of Commissioners but also, I'm sure, the Assembly and for us regional residents as a whole. Carol is here to discuss a proposed ordinance for a 2026 budget fund transfer. There is a proposed ordinance, the capital fund reappropriation that we discussed in front of the commissioners, but that we are pulling today. We're not going to be introducing that one pending further information. Is that correct, Carol? That's, yeah. And then thirdly, a supplemental budget, an ordinance for a supplemental budget request for a federal indirect internal, indirect, and external rate study that will allow us to more closely refine and understand the costs that we face in providing services both internally to departments from core services to departments, as well as to the public services that we contract. Carol will also explain a little bit about that. There was a conversation about a gentleman, Mr. Stephen Buckley, came to provide commentary on a possible vote to refer, his recommendation that the Cape Cod Commission have referred to it, a proposed bridge replacement for review of as a development of regional impact. The commissioners, if memory serves me correctly, we're not in favor of moving that idea forward. And then there were various budget consent agenda items that they passed for normal and customary county business. That's what I have at this time. Is there any any questions?
Delegate Harder?
Thank you. Just a quick question. We've got these three. Which one is being told?
Yeah, the second one, Carol will explain the capital fund reappropriation.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we're gonna give that some further consideration.
I see that's back.
Oh,
Has Michael returned?
Michael returned.
Excellent.
Michael, would you like to pick up where you're left off? Ah.
I can pick up where anybody left off. If I knew where they left off, I'd be happy to. Apologize for having to leave for a sec.
Pretty much, I think, well, she was just talking, I'll let her.
Good evening, Mike. I had just paraphrased, summarized the proceedings of the Board of Regional Commissioners meeting of January 14th, last Wednesday. I took them through that and mentioned that we are going to pull the second of the three ordinances that we were going to propose tonight, and that you and or Carol could provide further information.
Okay. Thank you, Vera. So I won't rehash what the commissioners went through at their meeting, but I will provide a little bit of an explanation on the ordinance that we'd like to pull. As you may or may not know, we are replacing at least half of the HVAC equipment at the First District Court, specifically the chiller. The chiller sits relatively far away from the actual building. There are two of them. This is funding to replace one of them. As we got into the process, very specifically as of the last few days, we realized that the there's piping that goes underneath the pavement, and that piping, due to some investigation by the engineers, that piping appears to be faulty and potential of collapse. So that piping will have to be replaced. It involves trenching. It will not involve removal of the pipe, at least not at this point. They'll leave it in place, which is common practice, but they will replace it with new piping to service that chiller, and that is going to be at some fairly significant cost. So we want to make sure we're going to pull it this time. We're going to make sure that we have all the costs outlined and detailed before we come back to the commissioners and ask for their approval, and then come to you to ask for your approval. So we just want to be certain that we know what the exact costs are going to be. We don't want to keep coming back on the same project with little bits of more money and more money and more money. We just want to get this done. I will say 97% of this project will be should be reimbursed
by the state. So there's very little permanent outlay for us. It's just temporary outlay. We will likely request it through our capital funding, and that's about it. So I just wanted to provide a brief explanation of why we wanted to pull this particular one. I didn't want to leave anybody in the so-called dark.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Administrator Dutton? Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Administrator Dutton. This is obviously very important to do. Is there also a timeline? Because if it's air conditioning, you want it done before the season starts. So what is your timeline? The engineers have already determined the problem, but they have not given you the new price to fix the entire problem.
They have given us some pricing, but we want to make sure that it's the entire project, and we want to go into it eyes wide open. So I think at this point, the replacement of the piping is in the 300,000 range. But I don't quote me, so to speak, on that. So we just want to make sure we've got all the costs involved in this. In terms of the timing, you are correct. It's hard to believe, given the weather outside. It's hard to believe that we're racing a little bit against the clock to get this done in time for air conditioning season. But our timeline looks to bring us to the beginning of June, which we think will be okay.
And you said this is one of the two systems in the building. Has there been a determination of the condition of the second half of the HVAC condition?
Very good question, because we always want to be attentive to in a case like this where you've got two chillers, you want to make sure that ideally you can ladder them out and make sure that you're not facing a double project down the road when they both die. So the other chiller is in serviceable condition. I think it was replaced more recently, but I'd have to double check with Don Reynolds on that one. But it is serviceable. I know that we are discussing while we're replacing this set of pipe in the below the pavement area, that we want to make sure that we account for an extra set of pipe in the event that, or what, not even in the event, when the next chiller does go, because we don't want to be digging up the road more than we have to over the a 10-year span. So the timing looks okay. Not ideal, but it does look okay.
And lastly, you haven't made any progress with the state of getting reimbursed in quicker than 18 months. That's still our hopeful timeline of getting reimbursed for something as expensive as this.
I think Carol does a great job. Finance director does a great job compiling the costs and submitting them on a timely basis, along with Don Reynolds. And our timeline fluctuates. I know that, but we haven't made any specific progress on speeding it up. We try to give them as much information as we can right up front, and hopefully that shortens the window a little bit. But we'll that's a larger project that, as I've mentioned before, is one of this year's goals, to try to rearrange the payment arrangement we have with with the trial court system.
Delegate Walkley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Dutton, for the report, as well as for Ms. Harik. I just have a quick question. Could you clarify again, when the state does the reimbursement, should we borrow, if we were to borrow the money and we have to pay back the money with interest, does the state reimburse us for that interest as well?
That is a great question, and if Carol is there, I would defer to her on that question.
Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon. The agreement that the county has, or the lease agreement that the county has with the state, would require them to pay all the interest and the cost to bond as well, as the principal for any of these projects over a period of time.
Thank you. And what is the period of time? I'm just curious.
So it depends on the project about how long it can be borrowed, the length of time it can be borrowed. And so there's state standards with regard to the useful life of a roof replacement or a complete building, things of that nature. We do have standards that we have to adhere to.
So in other words, if we, just to put it in layman's terms more, so if the county were to borrow for like 5 years for a project, the state would reimburse us over the 5 years. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much for the clarification.
Yes, Delegate Frizzell.
Thank you, Ms. Speaker. So let me try to understand what the ordinance as drafted now. I know it's going to come back to us, but it's a reappropriation. So are the funds currently in the capital stabilization fund? And we're just moving money around from some money that wasn't used and we're putting it into something else? I'm not quite sure I understand what you're trying to do in the capital stabilization fund by the ordinance.
I think I can handle that one. I think originally our intent was to cover the total cost of the project by shifting money that had been previously authorized, specifically money for the district roof. That money is not necessary right now because the district roof is in actually fairly good condition. But we've determined that the $125,000 is not sufficient to cover the total cost of what the total cost of the project will be. So originally our intent was to try to essentially recycle some funds that have not been used and don't need to be used at this point. But we'll regroup and come back with probably some alternative language that taps the capital stabilization for those funds.
If I may follow up on that. So as I understand that ordinance 2107, which is where you're getting this money from, already had the funds committed to everything. So that money isn't available. No. I didn't know that we had money that wasn't committed in the ordinance 2107. I'm looking at 2107. That's what this referenced here. I mean, in other words, are we going to have to take some of the money that we're now transferring in the ordinance we have pending that's going to go from the general unreserved funds into the capitalization fund, and we're going to use those monies to pay the amount in excess of $125,000, or is there already money in the capitalization fund to go to spend on this in excess of the $125,000?
Okay, Carol?
Thank you. Thank you. I believe that the ordinance that you're quoting, 21-07, was that the establishment and the initial funding of that capital stabilization fund, and I think it was at $1 million, if I'm correct. There was a subsequent ordinance appropriating funds, additional funds into the capital stabilization fund, and that funding combined with the $1 million that was already in there had a very distinct list of projects. Okay, so to answer your question, this would be in addition to those.
Right. So in that addition is going to come from the money we're now going to transfer. Right now, we're transferring it says 4 million. We're going to revise it to 3 million something. That's the money where you're going to get to fund this additional amount.
I mean, this all came about late this afternoon, about 15 minutes before the meeting. And so we are in our initial phases of having a conversation about what we shall bring forward. And I don't think that conversation is complete yet.
Thank you very much. Delegate Carter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I read this as we already appropriated this money in 2023 and in 2021.
So your reading is correct. We'd like to pull back that proposed ordinance and set it aside. And bring forward another ordinance and that would replace it, because this one was very specific for maintenance on the first district roof. Now, the roof is not compromised. It does not need to be replaced. This was a maintenance project at $125,000. Given the information we received late this afternoon, that's when we decided that it would be best to retract that proposed ordinance.
Right, but the money we already allocated years ago, right?
The money
It's
is
not in the new budget.
The money, the $125,000 was previously appropriated and has not been spent.
Right, thank you.
Yes.
Just to make sure I clarify this, the 125,000 is there, but this is going to cost more than 125,000. And that more is not there until we put money in, if we vote the ordinance today, to move it from the unreserved into capital stability. You're shaking your head no, but that is the truth. I just asked Carol it. Okay.
Yes. Excuse me, Delegate Kevin. Guess I'm
Thank you, Madam
sorry.
Speaker. Question for either the Finance Committee Chair or for the county finance minister, whoever better understands the situation right now. But my understanding is there's money going in, proposed to go into the stabilization fund. There's money coming out of it. Also, against this backdrop, there's a good amount of uncertainty around, the amount that in the long term might need to get taken out or in bonds to fund major courthouse renovations. So my main question is there any specific urgency at the moment to move these unreserved funds into capital stabilization? Or could similar goals still be accomplished the same way by appropriating money as needed, depending on what ordinances come from the commissioners, and then making firm decisions about millions of dollars moving into stabilization funds down the road once some of these unknowns get answered? Is there a reason not to go forward with that?
I guess I could sort of take that one. I think anytime you've got you've got money, it's always best to in our case put it into capital stabilization, given the backlog of capital needs. That is a better solution than letting it sit in sort of unrestricted funds, both from a bond rating perspective, and I think from a capital or from a practical perspective. But I don't want, pulling this ordinance to be confusing to folks. It's really quite simple. The original ordinance as written was reappropriating funding that had been appropriated some years ago, and reappropriating it to the chiller replacement, which is more urgent. But right now, because the chiller replacement project is seeing increasing costs, as Carol mentioned, literally 15 minutes before the meeting started, we just decided let's regroup here. Let's ask the Assembly not to take this up. Let's regroup, figure out exactly what the costs are going to be, and then come back with a straight ordinance that's easily understood, and that we can justify and explain clearly. So really, I apologize for the confusion, but it's really as simple as we don't know all the costs now involved, and we want to make sure that we've got our hands around it very clearly before we come back, if that makes sense.
Does anyone else have questions for the administrator? Or for the other executive? Nope. Okay, thank you very much. The assembly will convene now. Since we are pulling as requested, and please note that anything listed after the assembly convenes may take official actions. Reports from officers and committees. The Standing Committee on Finance.
Oh, thank you, Madam Speaker. The Cape Cod Regional Government Assembly Delegate Standing Committee on Finance met on Tuesday, January 14th, virtually at 3 p.m. And I'll just read this. The Assembly of Delegates Standing Committee on Finance met remotely on Wednesday, January 14th at 3 p.m. The committee discussed the proposed ordinance 2026-1, fiscal year 2027 capital budget, and also proposed ordinance 2026-2, appropriating the sum of $4.563215 million to the capital stabilization fund established in the ordinance 2020-17 as previously referred, and by transferring funds from the unreserved balance. Assistant Administrator Vera Herrick and Treasurer Finance Director Carol Coppola presented the ordinance and answered questions from the committee members. Delegate Friesel proposed amendments to fund the FY 2027 capital items totaling $904,000. Delegate Friesel proposed amendments to fund the FY 2027 capital funds totaling $904,000 directly from available funds rather than borrowing, arguing the county should not pay interest when cash is available. The committee agreed with the recommendation and Finance Director Carol Coppola to fund $60,000 from the Dredge Enterprise Fund and retained earnings to maintain the integrity of the enterprise fund, with the remaining $844,000 coming from general fund unreserved balance. As a result, the committee also recommends to the full assembly to amend the transfer to the capital stabilization fund in ordinance 2026-02 to reduce it from $4,563,215 to $3,719,215. The committee voted unanimously to recommend this to adopt both of these as discussed. So we do formally recommend to the full assembly that we vote positively for these changes with the amendments suggested by Delegate Friesel and Treasurer Coppola. Thank you. I propose to move the proposed ordinance 2026-01 as written.
Second, do I have a second?
Is there discussion here or online?
As amended.
As amended.
As amended.
Okay.
I do not hear a second.
I second that.
Yeah. If you want to amend it, someone's going to have to make an amendment to it. Okay, just wanted to make sure we're all playing that you can't move it as amended by the finance committee. Someone has to make a.
Thank you for that clarification.
So we had an original, let me clarify this procedurally now. We had an original ordinance proposal from the administration. The finance committee has recommended that it be amended in accordance with what's at our table right now as a red line. So do you want a motion to amend the original ordinance and then substitute the amended ordinance? That's what I now move. A substitution of the original 2601 from the administration with the amended version, which was recommended by the Finance Committee to be approved by the full assembly.
Thank you, Delegate Friesel. Do I have a second? I have a second. Is there further discussion? Online, seeing none, I could. Okay.
So, is there any discussion on the changes that have been proposed? Okay, so, Clerk Fletcher, may we get a roll call?
So this is a roll call on the motion to amend
That is
by
correct.
substituting new language. All right, Delegate Frederickson? Delegate
Yes.
Frederickson. Delegate Frizel?
Yes.
Delegate Fuller?
Yes.
Delegate Gallagher?
Yes.
Deputy Speaker Gasson?
Yes.
Delegate Green?
Yes.
Delegate Harder?
Yes.
Delegate Killian?
Yes.
Delegate King? Delegate O'Malley? Dean Omen?
Yes.
Delegate Sampson?
Yes.
Delegate Ty?
Yes.
Speaker Warner?
Yes,
And the Mashpee seat is still vacant. That's 12, representing 88.94% of the county's population. Would you like a roll call on the ordinance as amended? Madam Speaker?
yes.
Okay. Delegate Frederickson.
Yes.
Delegate Frizel.
Yes.
Delegate Fuller.
Yes.
Delegate Gallagher.
Yes.
Deputy Speaker Gasson.
Yes.
Delegate Green.
Yes.
Delegate Harder.
Yes.
Delegate Killian.
Yes.
Delegate King. Delegate O'Malley. Dean Omen.
Yes.
Delegate Sampson.
Yes.
Delegate Ty.
Yes.
Speaker Warner.
Yes,
Delegate, oh, still vacant. I keep wanting to read her name. That's still 12, representing 88.94%.
Dean Omen, can I get a motion to adopt proposed ordinance 2026?
Dash two.
That's two.
So moved, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I now may I move to amend, because this is what was moved is the original 2602 that came from the administration. Finance Committee recommends amending that ordinance as we see it at place. We have that amended red line by substituting in line 1, $3,719,215 for $4,563,215. And also the same change in line 5, and then in line 7, inserting the words general fund before the words unreserved fund balance. Those amendments I have proposed for approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Second? Okay. May we have a vote? Or discussion? Do we need more discussion on that particular? No? Okay.
Do we get a second on the amendment?
Okay. Roll call?
Delegate Frederickson.
Yes.
Delegate Frizel.
Yes.
Delegate Fuller.
Yes.
Delegate Gallagher.
Yes.
Deputy Speaker Gasson.
Yes.
Delegate Green.
Yes.
Delegate Harder.
Yes.
Delegate Killian.
Yes.
Delegate King. Delegate O'Malley. Dean Omen.
Yes.
Delegate Sampson.
Yes.
Delegate Ty.
Yes.
Speaker Warner.
Yes.
All right, that is 12, representing 88.94%. Would you like a roll call on the motion as amended? Delegate Frederickson.
Yes.
Delegate Frizel.
Yes.
Delegate Fuller.
Yes.
Delegate Gallagher.
Yes.
Deputy Speaker Gasson.
Yes.
Delegate Green.
Yes.
Delegate Harder.
Yes.
Delegate Killian.
Yes.
Delegate King. Delegate O'Malley. Dean Omen.
Yes.
Delegate Sampson.
Yes.
Delegate Ty.
Yes.
Delegate Warner.
Yes.
Or Speaker Warner. Delegate Wyman Colombo is still not here. She's still. I have to change this template. Still 12, representing 88.94% of the county's population.
Clerk Fletcher, do we have any announcements?
Well, orders of the day.
Oh, we got to do orders of the day. Okay.
I think we have any.
Okay. Any new business?
Madam Speaker.
Okay.
Since we got 3 new ordinances, one being pulled, received, I would like to, ask the clerk if we should have a finance committee regarding those 2 other ordinances in the very near future.
Well, under my good? Under new business, we do have those 2 ordinances as well coming today. And so the plan is to try to have a finance committee meeting next week or and soon. So I guess the administration's formally introducing those now. And we have them and I've sent them around to everybody and you guys have copies. So I think that's all we have for new business.
Could I, on that point, could I speak? So, do we know, does the administration know how soon that 3rd ordinance would be ready in a reformed package? The only reason I ask that is if it's soon, we could still have a meeting with all 3 and hold a meeting till that 3rd one, or that, I guess not unless we present it here at the.
Hey, can we,
I move to suspend the motions.
don't need a motion.
We don't need a motion. Speaker can suspend the rules for that.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to, go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the question. We we're working backwards in a timeline from needing to switch the air conditioning on probably mid-May. So we're going to have a revised ordinance as soon as possible. Honestly, I can't promise next week, and it also has to go before the Board of Regional Commissioners first, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, go ahead and meet on the other 2, but it's coming as fast as we can. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. We should, yeah.
Okay. Clerk Fletcher?
The only announcement I have is I was remiss during public hearing on the petition. We did receive a letter from Alyssa Magnato from Housing Assistance Corporation strongly supporting the petition. I will send that around to everybody and make that available online. So I do have that as an announcement. And other than that, I will be speaking with the speaker and chairs of committees to see when it makes sense to schedule some more committee meetings.
Madam Speaker?
Okay, yes.
If I might, on that very point, can we ask, where are we headed with the petition from here? All right, we had a public hearing today on this petition. So what's the next step to advance this to some conclusion, one way or the other, here at the Assembly?
My understanding is that I believe that there will be another meeting of the Economic Development Group to review some of there were a few items that were asked about, and I honestly can't say whether they were asked before and are already addressed, but I knew there was at least 1 or 2 that I heard that were new, and see what they feel in terms of how they might fit in or not to the proposal, and then based on what the Economic Affairs Committee says, we could actually be ready to take a vote on it. Is that about right?
So as a timing matter, does that mean that we could, in the next meeting, have it before us for debate and vote?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So the Economic Affairs Committee has been supplied already with 2 amendments from delegates that will be discussed at the next meeting. And then we will also discuss all the issues raised today, most of which can be answered easily because there was some misinformation. So at that point, I do believe that we will be able to vote on it. Now, if towns feel strongly that they need us to go to them, we could try to set up a meeting with them. But as this as this is completely voluntary and towns don't have to accept it, it's also very broad so that towns can set whatever threshold they want. Blah, blah, blah. I don't anticipate that most towns, once we put out our final report after the next economic affairs meeting, I think once towns understand that it is voluntary, that it will be easier, that we won't have as many complaints, and we very well might be able to vote on it at the next meeting and put it to bed. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I just want to ask, I did submit an amendment. Did the committee get that? Thank you.
Deputy Speaker, guess. Go
Yes,
ahead.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Just on the question Delegate Frizzell asked whether or not it can be up for a vote or up for debate at the next meeting. I definitely think we're in good shape. We've done a lot. On the flip side, I would like to note, obviously, as Delegate Fletcher has mentioned several times today, we are short a delegate from Mashpee. So however the process rolls, as speaking for myself, I think it does make sense to hopefully ensure every town gets to have a seat at the table when it comes time to vote on this officially. But of course, the assembly decides as a majority when to call something to a vote. Thank you.
Delegate Harder.
Thank you. Just so people know, if there is no delegate from Mashpee assigned by the time we want to put this for a vote, we do have an amendment from the previous delegate from Mashpee. So Mashpee will be having a say in some way. At least if we haven't been able to get a new delegate from Mashpee by then, they will have been represented by former delegate Lyman Colombo.
Madam Speaker.
Just a moment. Delegate Frederickson. Oh, and then I'll come back to you.
Yeah, hi. Just going through this, we need to get our act together, honestly. That's us as a group, because we can't even answer what we're doing yet. So, but I appreciate it because this is a little different way. And I think we need to kind of really straighten out exactly what we're doing and how we're going to do it. I think it's good for all of us to do that. And I know we can do it because I understand there's been some confusion on whether this is an ordinance or some other fashion where the commissioners have to weigh in. We have to do different processes and different votes. And I know it's very confusing. That was relatively new to the game a month or so ago. And I have about 8 different amendments to move forward, but I'm not sure when and how we're going to do that. So I suggest we just take our time, or we just say, oh, let's put it to vote next week and see what happens. But I honestly believe for the professionalism of our organization, we just straighten the ship a little bit and move forward in a very controlled manner. And we know what we're doing and how we're going to do it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Delegate Frizzell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I would suggest to the Delegate Frederickson that he submit those amendments to the Economic Affairs Committee. We have a process for channeling those comments and amendments so that they can be studied, reflected on by the Economic Affairs Committee. And we should hopefully get a report from that committee to the full assembly for us to discuss and debate. If it happens within the time frame of the next meeting, good. It doesn't have to. I was just inquiring as to what people's thinking is as to timing. And now Delegate Gessen has introduced another possibility here, which is waiting until the delegate from Mashpee is appointed. So in that regard, I ask, what's the appointment process and how long does that take?
So under the charter, So under the charter, the clerk, which is me in this case, lots of clerks, county clerks, assembly clerks, town clerks, I had to notify the town clerk that there was a vacancy, which I did after the last meeting because that was the effective date of the resignation. They have to post it on their bulletin board, advertise it to people, generally interview candidates. They have a trigger of 21 days before all of you can name the person from Mashpee if you dared to do that. 21 days from when I notified the clerk, I think is the 29th. I have not checked in with them yet, but as we approach that deadline, I will. So it is possible that you would have someone seated by the next meeting, or you might not. You could put your own candidate in there at the next meeting, I guess, by the charter if you wanted to. And if Mashpee hadn't given you one, but we should probably, since the previous Mashpee delegate is also, I believe, the chair of the select board there, and the select board gives you a person, I don't think we'll have too much of a lag time.
Okay, I just want to be sensitive to the fact that the delegation asked us if we're going to submit this, to submit it in a time frame where the legislature has time to act on this. And I would prefer to see us, if we're going to vote forward, if it doesn't move forward, doesn't matter. But if we're going to move it forward, let's move it forward in a way that it can be acted on in the current legislative year and not have the time just simply run out on us to have it acted upon in this legislative year. So that's the sensitivity, I think, in terms of when we get it out.
Thank you. Anyone else have? Okay, then, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Take a vote?
Delegate Frederickson,
Yes.
Delegate Frizzell.
Yes.
Delegate Fuller.
Yeah.
Delegate Gallagher.
Yes.
Deputy Speaker Gasson.
Yes.
Delegate Green.
Yes.
Delegate Harder.
Yes.
Delegate Killian.
Yes.
Delegate King. Delegate O'Malley. Dean Omen.
Yep.
Delegate Sampson.
Yes.
Delegate Ty.
Yes.
Speaker Warner.
Yes.
That is it. 12 representing 88.94%.
So adjourn.